As a man, scratch that. As a human, one of the easiest ways to put yourself in harm's way is by letting your emotions make decision for you. Imagine a man in his mid-30s who lives large after making a huge sum from a long-term investment. He spends most part of his returns on frivolities, neglecting the fact that he can easily reinvest some parts of his earning and continue the never-ending earning cycle. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. Eventually, it begins to dawn on him that his money might not be around for too long before it finishes, with no further expectation of profit anywhere. This illustration explains how people allow their emotions make decision for them. Most people think the only time someone can allow emotion make decisions for them is when something bad happens. However, emotions are mere feelings. A wealthy man who feels too comfortable with his wealth without thinking of multiplying the wealth more is making decisions off emotions. A poor man who thinks he is too poor to ever beat poverty is also making decisions off emotions. Emotions are mere feelings and should not be allowed to tamper with reality. However, both the wealthy and the poor man always have a power regardless of their state. The power to control their emotions and change their lives for better. Real men are only built through the ability to take charge of this power and turn things from bad to good. Take a quick picture of every wealthy person you know who rose from grass to grace. Their wealth did not come from being too comfortable. Rather, it came from making a decision away from emotion, and this might be just what you need to change your life for good and forever. Take a moment to imagine what it would be like to wake up every morning feeling in control of your life. To be aware that you are strong and capable of handling any situation that comes your way. This is the power that is inside you, just waiting to be released. It is the gift of emotional mastery. The goal of emotional control is not to repress your emotions. It involves gaining a thorough awareness of your feelings, directing them, and eventually turning them into instruments that help you make wiser choices, build stronger bonds with others, and live a life that is in line with your true self. All too frequently, our emotions control us and cause us to act in ways that are not beneficial to us. Perhaps a chat with a loved one has been tainted by an angry outburst, or perhaps hours of sleep have been robbed by work-related stress. Although these experiences are common to all people, they don't have to define who we are. Breaking out from those habits and accepting a degree of freedom you might not have known was possible is the goal of learning to master your emotions. What is the true meaning of this mastery? It is the capacity to maintain composure in the face of chaos and to think clearly when others are losing their sense of perspective. You don't either have this ability or don't. It can be developed day by day, decision by decision, much like a muscle. Additionally, you're laying the groundwork for greater resilience and success each time you decide to control your emotions rather than allow them to control you. Think about this. Your emotions are strong forces, signals from your body and mind that contain important information. They make your wants, desires, and concerns clear. However, they can overwhelm you and make it difficult to distinguish between reaction and reason. Being able to recognize these cues without letting them control you is a sign of true emotional mastery. You may evaluate your feelings, comprehend what they're telling you, and react rather than react. Here's where you have power. Let's consider anger as an example. Anger in its unadulterated state can be damaging, generating conflict in interpersonal relationships or escalating tension at work. However, once you learn to control your anger, it can be a motivating factor for change. It might give you the strength to go after a difficult objective or the bravery to defend yourself. It is now an energy that you can channel and control rather than something to be feared or subdued. Just think of the power that would have. Fear is no different. The majority of us experience fear in one way or another, whether it be from rejection, failure, or venturing outside of our comfort zones. But fear no longer paralyzes you once you've mastered your emotions. Rather, you perceive it as a chance, a reminder that you are on the verge of development. You learn to face that fear head-on, comprehend where it comes from, and still go forward. How do we get there then? How is this inner strength developed? The first step is self-awareness. Emotional mastery starts with self-awareness, because without it, you're like a ship at sea, continually blown around by waves of emotion with no clear course. Learning to identify your triggers, those particular things that tend to set you off, and seeing how your body reacts during those times are key components of becoming self-aware. When you're frustrated, you could have strain in your shoulders. When you're anxious, your heart rate may increase. These bodily indicators are useful instruments that assist you in identifying feelings before they become overwhelming. However, awareness is just the first step. When awareness and choice are combined, the true transformation occurs. Here's where you take back control. You have the freedom to choose how you will react each time an emotion arises. Will you allow it to control your behavior, or will you stop, think, and react in a way that is consistent with your principles and goals? Making this decision repeatedly is what develops emotional mastery. Now, perfection isn't the point here. Emotions will still surprise you sometimes, even after years of expertise. That is just a fact of human nature. However, these periods become less frequent and less severe as you gain emotional mastery. You discover that you can handle difficult circumstances more confidently and easily. You inspire respect and trust in those around you, as well as in yourself, by becoming a source of serenity. Consider it this way. Every feeling is a call to development. Consider emotions as chances to grow as a person and to fortify your inner resolve rather than as hurdles or difficulties. And never forget that you are free to walk this path at your own speed. There's no hurry or sense of haste. Being in control of your emotions is a daily journey that takes a lifetime of effort. However, every step you take will bring you one step closer to a life of harmony, clarity, and fulfillment, a life in which your inner strength and wisdom, rather than ephemeral feelings, define you. A relationship coach once answered one of his students who asked about how to forget a bad ex, and he replied that, for every time you remember your ex who treated you badly, do 100 push-ups. Several students found it difficult to find a correlation between forgetting the ex and doing push-ups. The coach then explained that whenever you decide to do the push-ups and you are able to complete them, you will always be at an advantage of building your body and health, since exercises like push-ups are beneficial, and as time goes on, your focus will shift from always remembering the ex to wanting to do push-ups. The same thing can be applied to emotions. Whenever you start feeling emotional, channel the energy into something positive and continue this process for a while until that positive thing becomes a habit for you. That way, you have easily defeated the ability to take decisions through emotions. For a brief while, see every emotion you experience as a signal, a whisper from deep within that asks you to listen. We don't experience emotions randomly or without cause. They don't just appear out of nowhere. Instead, they have their roots in our needs, beliefs, and experiences. Knowing the origins of your emotions gives you the ability to analyze them, react intelligently, and eventually create a more purposeful existence. Connecting with the essence of your motivations is necessary to comprehend the origins of emotions. Consider every feeling to be a messenger. All emotions, joy, fear, sadness, and anger, have a purpose. Additionally, each is attempting to convey a significant message about your surroundings or yourself. When emotions are viewed in this way, they become less overwhelming. Instead of seeing them as challenges to be overcome or disregarded, you start to see them as important teachers. Let's take a closer look. What makes us feel the way we do? Where do these feelings come from? Fundamentally, emotions are the means by which your body and mind communicate your wants, values, and desires. They appear when anything threatens or coincides with such characteristics. Anger, for instance, frequently surfaced when we felt that a boundary had been breached or that something unfair had happened. When we venture into the unknown, fear arises to warn us of possible dangers or difficulties. When we suffer disappointment or loss, sadness comes forth. Emotions are always accompanied by a cause and environment. Knowing this changes your mindset from one of reaction to one of response, which is why it is so effective. Knowing the reasons behind your emotions allows you to take a step back, reflect, and make decisions that are in line with who you really are, rather than allowing them to rule you. The true power is found here. Let's look at an illustration. Consider yourself irritated following a challenging discussion with a friend or co-worker. It is simple to say, "I'm just angry," at first glance. However, if you examine it more closely, that rage may be expressing something more profound, such as that you were ignored, that your viewpoint wasn't respected, or that a boundary you hold dear was breached. Understanding the cause of your anger enables you to deal with it head-on, either by establishing clear boundaries or communicating more assertively in the future. The reflection process has the potential to change lives. You start to react to emotions with interest rather than condemnation as you learn to recognize them as signals. You begin by asking, "What is this feeling trying to tell me?" rather than, "I shouldn't feel this way." This minor change in viewpoint provides significant insight, assisting you in identifying unfulfilled desires or unsaid principles that underlie your experiences. Recognizing the significance of prior experiences is another essential component in comprehending the underlying causes of emotions. Both happy and sad memories frequently influence emotions. You may be more prone to feel frustrated or insecure when your voice feels unheard because you were discouraged from expressing yourself as a child. By admitting this, you can better understand why some circumstances make you feel more strongly than others. By realizing that every feeling is a part of your unique past and path, you also grow to have a more compassionate connection with yourself. Fear is one feeling that frequently baffles us. Since it stems from our innate desire to protect ourselves, fear can be a very complicated emotion. Beyond that, though, dread is also connected to our aspirations, goals, and fears. Your greatest goals are reflected in many of the fears you face. For example, if you're terrified of failing, it is probably because you value success so highly. Fear loses its terrifying quality when viewed in this light. You can use it as a guide to help you figure out what's really important, rather than allowing it to hold you back. It is also beneficial to realize that emotions interact with one another rather than existing in an isolation. Anger can occasionally be a symptom of sadness or fear. For example, someone who is terrified of being hurt may lash out in anger. Or, possibly connected to disappointment, people might experience grief behind their annoyance. You can respond more wisely and compassionately if you can fully comprehend what's causing your feelings by removing these layers. Patience and practice are necessary for this process. Being self-aware is a skill that necessitates regular reflection and pause. You begin to see patterns as you go along. You'll be able to identify the feelings that frequently surface around particular persons, locations, or circumstances. You'll start to see how your own views and ideas influence your feelings. And instead of reacting based on unquestioned emotions or old habits, this knowledge serves as the basis for making better decisions that are in line with who you want to be. You will feel a sense of liberation when you gain a deeper comprehension of this. You can manage your emotions with a sense of control once they are no longer enigmatic forces. You can accept each emotion as a stepping stone on your path to personal development and self-discovery, rather than being scared of experiencing intense or strong feelings. In this sense, knowing the underlying causes of emotions is a route to personal empowerment rather than merely a talent. You can gain a better understanding of yourself by paying attention to your feelings. You discover your motivations, fears, and fulfillments. Knowing that gives you the ability to design your life in a way that genuinely captures your essence. Imagine yourself managing several jobs over a demanding day while experiencing the well-known tension building. You may begin to experience feelings of frustration, overwhelm, or even anxiety. It can seem like emotions are taking over and carrying you along during times like this. However, what if that experience could be changed? What if you knew easy yet effective ways to regain emotional equilibrium? Ignoring or repressing feelings is not the goal of momentary emotion management. It is more about channeling them, directing them so that you can react instead of react. You may transform emotional intensity into control and clarity by using a few useful strategies. Breathing is the first technique. Indeed, it may seem straightforward, even simplistic, yet the effects of conscious breathing on your emotional state are substantial. Your breathing frequently becomes quick and shallow while your emotions are running high, which feeds the cycle of tension and stress. However, you trigger your body's relaxation reaction the instant you change your breathing pattern by slowing it down or deepening it. Right now, visualize taking a deep, slow breath, filling your lungs to the brim, and then gently letting it out. Take note of your body's reaction. You are communicating to your neurological system, "It is okay, I am safe," with every intentional breath. You can restore your center just by doing this. Next, think about physically grounding yourself. Your focus is frequently diverted from the here and now when emotions are high. By bringing you back to reality, grounding techniques stabilize your body and mind. Focus on the feeling of being connected to the soil beneath you as you try to keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. To provide a sense of physical comfort, you can also put a hand on your stomach or on your heart. You can refocus your attention and release tension by doing something as easy as clenching and unclenching your fists. You may regain control and focus on the here and now by taking these simple steps. Naming the emotion is another effective strategy. Feelings might seem big, even overwhelming when we're engrossed in them. You can put some distance between yourself and your feelings by just acknowledging and recognizing them, whether they are fear, grief, or frustration. You are now watching it rather than being consumed by it. "I'm feeling stressed," or "This is frustration I'm experiencing," are some possible statements you may make to yourself. By giving it a name, you can accept the feeling without allowing it to control you. You may choose your next course of action with clarity after doing this tiny act of awareness, which also serves to lessen the intensity. Another method that might change your emotional state almost immediately is visualization. Consider a location that makes you feel totally at ease, such as a beach, a peaceful forest, or a favorite spot at home. Shut your eyes and visualize yourself there, taking in every detail as though you were actually there. Immerse yourself in that serene setting by listening to the sounds and feeling the textures. By serving as a mental reset, this vision allows you to take a break from the stress of the situation. Feel yourself regaining that sense of calm and stability with every deep inhale. Let's discuss how to alter your viewpoint. When we're stuck with one perspective, emotions frequently take over. Ask yourself, is there another way to look at this situation during these times? This straightforward query creates additional opportunities. Perhaps your dissatisfaction is a request to establish boundaries, or perhaps what appears to be criticism is actually support. Changing your viewpoint involves considering different interpretations of what is occurring, not suppressing your emotions. This change in perspective might assist, lessen the emotional impact, and lead to new insights. Movement is one technique that can surprise you. Physical tension is often the result of emotions being stored in the body. You can shake off the emotional accumulation by stretching, going on a short stroll, or even just shaking your hands and arms. Exercise doesn't have to be strenuous. A leisurely walk can be quite beneficial. Moving releases the physical state that is linked to your emotions, making room for a new viewpoint and a more relaxed mental state. Constructive self-talk should also not be overlooked. Your inner monologue can easily turn harsh and judgmental when your emotions are running high. Remind yourself, however, that it is acceptable to feel what you're feeling during intense moments. "This is temporary. I've handled this before," or "I can take this one step at a time," are some possible responses. The emotional edges can be lowered, and you can return to a stable, balanced condition by talking to yourself in a loving and encouraging manner. Finally, cultivate present moment gratitude. Gratitude redirects your focus, which may seem paradoxical, especially when emotions are high. Spend a few moments reflecting on one thing, no matter how minor, for which you are thankful. It may be a friend's encouragement, an educational opportunity, or just the breath that keeps you rooted. Even in the face of difficult feelings, gratitude causes a beneficial change in your mental state. This lets you see things more fully without discounting how you're feeling. When you combine these strategies, your emotions can be easily controlled. They provide you the ability to experience your emotions without losing control. Keep in mind that you have these resources available to you the next time a strong emotion strikes. You can achieve emotional mastery by breathing, grounding, naming, visualizing, shifting viewpoints, moving, engaging in constructive self-talk, and cultivating appreciation. Imagine gaining an unwavering degree of emotional control and resilience that will enable you to face life's challenges head-on with poise and inner fortitude. Developing the foundation, routines, and mindsets necessary to respond intelligently to any situation rather than merely responding on the spur of the moment is the goal of long-term emotional control. Let's explore some effective techniques that will assist you in developing this consistent, self-empowering approach to your emotional realm. Self-awareness is among the first long-term techniques. This is the foundation of emotional regulation, despite its seeming simplicity. Regularly checking in with oneself to understand your feelings, their causes, and their effects is a key component of self-awareness. Try allocating a little period of time each day to think about your feelings in order to develop this habit. Consider asking yourself, what emotions did I experience today? And what was my reaction to those feelings? By identifying patterns and triggers, this exercise helps you get a deeper awareness of yourself over time. You can predict your reactions and make decisions that maintain control when you are aware of your triggers. Mindfulness meditation is another crucial tactic. Being mindful involves more than just remaining still. It also entails being totally present and judgment-free, conscious of your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. You can learn to notice your feelings as they come up instead of getting caught up in them by engaging in mindfulness exercises. You can develop this talent with a basic daily meditation practice, even if it is only 5 minutes a day. Mindfulness gradually builds a wall between you and your feelings, enabling you to stop and decide how to react. This facilitates navigating difficult situations without losing control. Let's now discuss reframing. The process of viewing circumstances from a different angle is known as reframing. Ask yourself, Is there another way to view this when confronted with challenging emotions? Perhaps what seems like a failure at first turns out to be a chance for development. Or maybe criticism is an opportunity to grow and learn. You can alter your feelings about an experience by changing your point of view. Reframing is viewing your feelings from a position of empowerment rather than victimization, not ignoring them. Journaling is another effective long-term method. Putting your ideas and feelings on paper facilitates healthy processing and helps make difficult emotions more understandable. Consider allocating a short period of time every day or week to write in a notebook about your feelings, ideas, and experiences. Journaling gradually enables you to identify recurrent themes in your emotional reactions and provides you with information about your areas of improvement. It is a place for introspection, healing, and self-discovery that lets you let go of pent-up stress and turn your feelings into personal development. Another essential component of long-term emotional regulation is setting boundaries. Intense feelings might occasionally surface as a result of allowing others or ourselves to cross our limits. You can safeguard your emotional energy and give yourself the room and flexibility to react coolly by establishing clear limits. What circumstances make me feel overwhelmed or deplete my energy? Next, consider how you can impose restrictions in those areas. It could be setting aside time for self-care, refusing additional responsibilities, or limiting time spent with particular people. Setting boundaries helps you keep emotional equilibrium by giving you control over your surroundings. Healthy behaviors are also necessary for long-term emotional regulation. Your emotional resilience is influenced by how you care for your body and mind. Sustaining a steady mood requires regular exercise, a healthy diet, and enough sleep. While adequate sleep and nutrition lay the groundwork for mental clarity and attention, physical activity in particular releases endorphins, which are naturally occurring mood enhancers. Consider these behaviors the gasoline that maintains your emotional regulation stable and powerful. You are more capable of managing stress and emotions in a healthy way when your body and mind are well fed. Creating a support network is another crucial element. Having mentors, family, or friends you can confide in and trust offers a secure environment for expressing your emotions, getting advice, and gaining perspective. When you're feeling overwhelmed, your support network can provide insightful advice and serve as a reminder that you're not alone. These relationships offer emotional stability, whether it is through a brief conversation with a buddy or a more in-depth discussion with a mentor. These connections eventually turn into a source of power that gives you the confidence you need to confront life's obstacles. Gratitude is another long-term technique that improves emotional regulation. You can develop a mindset that naturally tends toward composure and resilience by consistently concentrating on the positive aspects of your life. Every day, try writing down a few things for which you are thankful. It could be anything from a minor personal accomplishment to the encouragement of loved ones. Having gratitude builds a foundation of positivity and contentment by refocusing your attention from what's wrong to what's right. This exercise strengthens your emotional resilience over time by assisting you in approaching obstacles with a more balanced viewpoint. Let's talk about self-compassion. Treating yourself with the same consideration you would a friend going through a difficult time is a sign of self-compassion. Remind yourself that it is acceptable to feel this way when you're experiencing challenging emotions. Self-compassion enables you to manage your emotions without passing judgment because they are a normal aspect of being human. By being gentle to yourself and reminding yourself that everyone has difficult times, you can cultivate self-compassion. This gentle method gradually builds resilience, enabling you to recover from emotional lows with dignity and fortitude. A strong foundation for emotional regulation is created by each of these long-term techniques: self-awareness, mindfulness, reframing, journaling, setting boundaries, forming healthy habits, having a support network, practicing gratitude, and self-compassion. They enable you to approach your feelings from a position of empowerment, equilibrium, and understanding. Keep in mind that developing emotional control is a process rather than a final goal. It is about cultivating these habits over time and letting them influence how you engage with your inner self. The most unbelievable thing about taking decision based on your emotion is that you are never aware that you are guilty of it until the consequences begin to show. While making these decisions, we often think we are rational and logical with them, whereas our emotions are taking full charge. This is how emotional bias works. This bias makes it seem as though you are making the best decision of your life. Meanwhile, it might be the first step toward self-destruction. The ability to detect emotional bias and do away with it is what separates ordinary men from achievers. Let's first discuss what emotional bias is. When feelings dominate decision-making instead of logic or facts, this is known as emotional bias. Since emotions come on suddenly and without conscious thought, often before we have had a chance to understand them, these biases can be extremely potent. This could be making a decision out of fear, acting rashly out of rage, or allowing excitement to impair your judgment. You may make decisions that are in line with your true desires by being aware of and in control of these emotional effects. Pausing before acting is a highly effective way to lessen emotional bias. When confronted with a choice, particularly one that elicits intense feelings, pause and take a deep breath. By creating a gap between the action and the emotion, this pause allows your rational thinking to catch up. Asking yourself, "Am I reacting out of an emotion right now?" may be useful, or in a day, a week, or a month, will this choice feel right? This brief break can have a huge impact by enabling you to approach the choice with composure and objectivity. Labeling your feelings is another way to control emotional bias. Research indicates that recognizing the emotions we are experiencing lessens their severity. Therefore, if you're experiencing anxiety related to a decision, tell yourself, "I'm feeling uncertain," or "I'm feeling anxious." By giving the feeling a name, you're recognizing it without allowing it to influence your decision. This technique helps you disentangle the emotion from the choice by transforming an otherwise overwhelming feeling into something manageable. Now let's explore the idea of perspective taking. It is simple for our emotions to cloud our comprehension of opposing points of view when we're making judgments, particularly when they include other people. Consider putting yourself in another person's position and looking at the matter from their point of view. Consider how you would feel if you were in their shoes, or how another person may interpret this choice. By increasing your knowledge, this method helps you make more equitable and balanced decisions by lowering emotional bias. Asking for feedback is another smart approach. It can be difficult to maintain objectivity when you have strong feelings about a decision. Clarity can be obtained by asking someone you trust for their viewpoint. Inform them that you would value their candid opinions and are attempting to make a well-considered choice. Select a person who will offer you a fair assessment and who won't hesitate to call out when your feelings are impairing your judgment. Asking for criticism eventually turns into a habit that keeps you rooted in your choices. Another useful strategy for controlling emotional bias is to reframe your thoughts. Strong emotions can cause tunnel vision, which is the ability to view only one side of a problem. Try taking a different perspective on the matter. What am I assuming here? What might I be overlooking? Ask yourself. By questioning your initial position, You release yourself from a limited, emotionally motivated perspective and create space for alternative options. Let's now examine decision-making based on data. Data and facts can act as a calming anchor when emotions are running high. Collect unbiased information about your decision whenever you can. When making a financial decision, for instance, consider the figures rather than your feelings about the transaction. Investigate the facts, such as pay, job development, or reviews from others in comparable roles, if it's a career decision. Your decision will be well-founded and informed thanks to this factual method, which lessens the impact of emotional bias. Considering the long-term effects of your choice is another useful tactic. Our emotions frequently drive us to seek instant satisfaction, which can result in decisions that are detrimental to our long-term well-being. Consider for a moment how your choice will affect things 6 months, a year, or even 5 years from now. Will this choice still be logical? By focusing on long-term goals rather than immediate feelings, envisioning future events helps you see what's really important. Another effective strategy to lessen emotional bias is to engage in mindfulness exercises. You can become more judgment-free, conscious of your thoughts and emotions by practicing mindfulness. You can learn to recognize when emotions are affecting your decisions by engaging in frequent mindfulness practices, such as meditation, deep breathing, or just watching your feelings. A mental check-in brought about by self-awareness helps you stay grounded and make decisions based on logic rather than emotion. Adopting patience is the last but important technique to lessen emotional bias. While decisions can have long-term effects, emotions, especially strong ones, are frequently transient. Remind yourself that it's acceptable to take your time when you're tempted to make a snap decision. When you have patience, your emotions can calm down and you can make decisions that are more in line with your long-term goals than your whims. Allowing yourself to sit with a decision and come back to it later with a clear head is a sign of patience. Your ability to control emotional bias is strengthened by each of these strategies: naming emotions, perspective-taking, asking for feedback, reframing, using data, imagining the future, mindfulness, patience, and pausing before reacting. They eventually develop into routines that help you stay focused and make decisions in life with assurance and clarity. By developing these abilities, you're giving yourself the ability to make choices that are consistent with your values and objectives. A balanced viewpoint that enables you to make intelligent and deliberate decisions will take the place of emotional bias. Managing emotional bias becomes instinctive with experience, changing your decision-making process and assisting you in building a life based on empowered, self-assured choices. Our lives are greatly enhanced by emotional intelligence, or EQ, particularly in the area of decision-making. In contrast to IQ, which measures cognitive abilities, EQ is concerned with properly comprehending, controlling, and utilizing our emotions. Increasing your EQ improves your relationships, communication, and resilience, in addition to making you more capable of making well-considered judgments. So, how can one develop emotional intelligence to make better decisions? Let's start by discussing self-awareness. Since self-awareness enables you to identify and comprehend your emotions as they arise, it forms the basis of emotional intelligence. Being conscious of your feelings makes it harder for emotions to rule you and increases the likelihood that you will react intelligently. Checking in with oneself during the day will help you become more self-aware. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Or, what's causing my reaction? This practice will eventually give you a better understanding of your emotional responses and patterns, which will enable you to make more informed judgments. The next stage of developing EQ is self-regulation, which is necessary for making wise decisions. Controlling your emotions to prevent them from impairing your judgment is known as self-regulation. It's simple to act rashly or make decisions you may come to regret while your emotions are running high. Try methods like deep breathing, meditation, or just pausing before acting to develop self-regulation. Take a few calm breaths before making a decision, especially if it's an emotional one, and ask yourself, am I acting emotionally, or am I thinking about what's best for the long run? This pause helps you make judgments based on your principles rather than ephemeral emotions, and allows you the time to respond rather than react. Empathy is a crucial component of EQ. Being empathetic enables you to share and comprehend other people's emotions. Empathy is a very useful trait while making decisions, particularly when those decisions affect other people. You can make judgments that are both advantageous to you and thoughtful to others by taking the time to think about how your choices will impact those around you. This viewpoint helps lessen miscommunications and build more solid, encouraging bonds in both personal and professional contexts. Emotional intelligence also heavily relies on social abilities, particularly when it comes to collaborative decision-making. Clear communication, dispute resolution, and cooperation are all facilitated by having strong social skills. Effective communication can help avoid misunderstandings and guarantee that everyone is in agreement when making decisions that involve other people. By paying close attention to the speaker and demonstrating your appreciation for their opinions, you can demonstrate active listening. This improves decision-making by fostering a collaborative environment and fortifying your relationships. Now, let's discuss motivation, another essential element of emotional intelligence. In this context, motivation refers to knowing what your true motivations are. You may make decisions that are more in line with your values and goals when you are aware of your reasons. Take the time to consider your values and long-term objectives in order to develop this EQ component. Ask yourself, why is this decision important to me? And how does it fit into my overall life vision? Knowing what drives you can help you make decisions that will actually benefit your future and well-being, since you won't be as easily influenced by fleeting feelings or outside influences. Stress management is another aspect of developing emotional intelligence. Stress can impair judgment and make it more difficult to make logical choices. Our brains go into survival mode under stress, concentrating on quick reactions rather than long-term planning. Choose stress reduction strategies that are effective for you, such as mindfulness meditation, physical activity, or time spent in nature. Frequent stress management not only helps you maintain emotional equilibrium, but also builds your resilience to make intelligent choices in even the most difficult circumstances. Also, reflective practice is a useful strategy for improving EQ. Spend some time thinking back on the decision-making process once you've made it. What emotions influenced my choice? And how might I handle a similar situation differently in the future? Are some questions you should ask yourself. You can improve your emotional intelligence and decision-making abilities over time by reflecting on your choices and learning from each one. Finding patterns in your emotional reactions through this practice can be immensely beneficial, enabling you to make more informed judgments in the future. Another effective method for increasing EQ is to welcome constructive criticism. People frequently notice aspects of us that we might not notice ourselves. Being receptive to criticism, particularly from those you can trust, helps you understand your emotional tendencies and how they influence your choices. Be open-minded and non-defensive when someone gives you comments. Think about their suggestions and how they could help you get better. Your EQ is strengthened by your openness to learning, which enables you to make decisions from a fair and impartial standpoint. Another useful strategy for enhancing emotional intelligence is mindfulness. Being mindful entails becoming totally focused on the here and now. Being mindful allows you to be more aware of your feelings without letting them control you. You may accept your emotions without allowing them to control your choices, thanks to this awareness. You can develop the clarity and composure necessary to make thoughtful judgments by engaging in mindfulness practices such as meditation, mindful breathing, or just being present in your everyday activities. Lastly, acknowledge your accomplishments. Every little improvement counts in the road to develop emotional intelligence. Acknowledge and value your progress. Recognize your decision as a positive step when you make it with emotional awareness. This celebration encourages you to keep developing these vital abilities by reaffirming the beneficial effects of emotional intelligence on your life. Gaining emotional intelligence gives you the ability to make well-considered, balanced decisions. By developing self-awareness, self-control, empathy, and resilience, you improve your capacity to face life's obstacles head-on with clarity and confidence. With practice and time, every choice you make turns into a chance to develop, gain knowledge, and design a life that aligns with your actual goals and principles. Keep in mind that every action you do to improve your EQ changes your relationships, job, and general well-being, in addition to improving your ability to make decisions. Humans naturally experience emotions. They have a profound impact on our relationships, thoughts, and behaviors. However, how frequently do we allow our feelings to rule us? Particularly when we are experiencing stress, anxiety, or frustration, it is simple to feel overtaken or even imprisoned by our feelings. But one of the most empowering decisions you can make is to embrace emotional control. Gaining emotional self-control opens the door to greater inner peace and personal empowerment. How, therefore, can empowerment result from emotional control? Let's begin by realizing that emotional control does not entail rejecting your feelings or repressing your emotions. Actually, the reverse is true. Recognizing your emotions without allowing them to govern your behavior is the essence of emotional management. It's about understanding that although you may not always be in control of your circumstances, you do have some influence over how you react to them. Imagine, for instance, that during a meeting, someone says something that irritates you. Your initial reaction may be to recoil or to become silent. However, when you have emotional control, you choose to take deep breaths after noticing the growing tension in your body. You take a time to think things through. Do you have to say something, or are you able to let it go? This awareness helps you make a conscious choice, empowering you to act from a place of intention instead of reacting. Self-regulation follows the development of self-awareness. This entails using your emotions to your advantage. You have the power to control your reactions rather than allowing fear or rage to control you. You can maintain composure under pressure by practicing self-regulation. Deep breathing is an effective self-regulation strategy. Deep breathing triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which aids in reducing the body's stress reaction. Try taking a few deep breaths when you're in the heat of the moment. Breathe in deeply through your nose, hold it for a few seconds, and then slowly release it. This small action can help you regain emotional self-control and improve the clarity of your thoughts. Emotional flexibility is another facet of self-control. This entails having the flexibility to modify your emotional reaction based on the circumstances. In some circumstances, some emotions, such as rage or frustration, may be acceptable, but in others, they may cause conflict or injury. You give yourself the ability to select the best course of action by cultivating emotional flexibility. Instead of allowing your frustration to mount, you can decide to take a quick break if you're feeling overburdened at work. You have the option to react coolly rather than defensively if someone confronts you. This flexibility enables you to move through challenging emotions with poise and purpose. Emotional resilience develops when self-regulation increases. Your capacity to recover from losses, disappointments, or adversity is known as emotional resilience. It's the understanding that although feelings are strong, they pass quickly. They don't have to define you, they come and go. Being resilient enables you to completely feel your emotions without allowing them to rule you. For instance, you might experience despair or rage if you hear horrible news. However, resilience enables you to process those emotions, draw lessons from the event, and move on rather than becoming mired in them. Engage in self-compassion exercises to develop resilience. Don't be too hard on yourself when things don't go as planned. Rather, treat yourself with kindness. Show yourself the same tolerance and empathy that you would show a friend going through a difficult moment. You may accept that everyone has difficulties and that emotional ups and downs are a natural part of life by practicing self-compassion. Let's now discuss the capacity to make empowered decisions, which is the real empowerment that results from emotional control. You are no longer a prisoner of your emotions after you have learned to control them. You may face life's obstacles with confidence rather than letting fear or anxiety consume you. You can base your choices on your principles, long-term objectives, and personal priorities. You start to realize that your emotional condition need not be a hindrance to achievement when you adopt emotional control. For instance, emotional regulation enables you to relax and concentrate on delivering your message if you're nervous about a large presentation. Having emotional control when you're furious about something at work allows you to handle it intelligently rather than rashly, which could lead to more issues. You are in control of how you feel and what you do with those feelings when you have the freedom to choose how you react. This is true empowerment. Another essential element of emotional control is empathy. You can better comprehend other people when you have a deeper understanding of your own feelings. Whether you're leading a team at business or settling disputes in personal relationships, empathy enables you to connect with others more deeply and tackle problems with compassion. Accepting emotional control allows you to react to other people's feelings without becoming defensive or passing judgment. Lastly, having emotional control gives you the ability to create a healthy emotional state that promotes your general well-being. You start to develop a sense of peace and confidence that permeates every aspect of your life when you engage in self-awareness, self-regulation, and resilience exercises. Developing emotional balance and harmony is another aspect of emotional regulation, in addition to controlling challenging emotions. Your mental, bodily, and emotional well-being are supported by this inner serenity. Adopting emotional control ultimately means accepting accountability for your emotional life. It's about taking charge of your mental health and deciding how you will react to life's obstacles. You will find a way to true empowerment as you develop emotional control, where you are in control of your emotions and they no longer dictate how you behave. Understanding, controlling, and utilizing your emotions to build the life you want is the essence of emotional control. Gaining emotional control opens us a universe of opportunities where you can react with assurance, compassion, and clarity. Emotions do not define you in this powerful space. Rather, you have the freedom to decide how to respond and act in a way that aligns with your values and objectives. If you've listened to this point, you'd notice that self-awareness has been the predominant factor in everything we've mentioned about emotional mastery. This is to say that one of the greatest gifts that a man can possess is being aware of himself. A self-aware man can go ahead and live a fulfilled life without any form of regret. It is both an art and a science to manage our emotions and use them to guide our judgments. By comprehending the causes and functions of emotions, controlling them in the present, and developing long-term techniques for emotional resilience, we give ourselves a potent toolkit of abilities that have the capacity to change our lives. The goal of emotional management is to comprehend, process, and use emotions to help us make better decisions and eventually live a more balanced and empowered life. It is not about repressing feelings or trying to avoid unpleasant emotions. Firstly, we discussed the origins of our feelings. Our observations and interpretations of the environment around us frequently cause emotions to surface. They contain important details about our values, needs, and even survival instincts. Understanding the causes of particular emotions helps us manage challenging circumstances and gain a deeper understanding of ourselves. For example, melancholy may indicate that we need to take a moment to think, while fear may warn us of impending danger. We are less likely to be overtaken or perplexed by our emotions if we are aware of these signs. We can view them as guides instead, assisting us in coordinating our behaviors with our more profound desires and goals. It is important to learn how to control our emotions in real time when we've identified their cause. Our capacity to control our emotions in the present can make the difference between acting impulsively and responding carefully, regardless of whether we are experiencing stress, worry, or anger. Simple techniques that provide distance between stimuli and response, such deep breathing, grounding exercises, or taking a quick break, can instantly calm people. By using these strategies, we teach our brains to remain calm and concentrated under pressure. Instead of responding in ways that could cause regret or conflict, this control allows us to make decisions that are in our best long-term interests. However, controlling feelings at the time is just one step in the process. We require long-term methods in order to maintain emotional control and reap its full rewards. Developing emotional resilience helps us deal gracefully with life's ups and downs. Being resilient frequently entails cultivating self-awareness and self-compassion, as well as understanding that it's acceptable to feel a variety of emotions without passing judgment. It also entails creating sustaining habits that improve our mental and emotional stability, such as consistent mindfulness exercises, physical activity, or journaling. By forming these habits, we build a solid foundation that enables us to overcome emotional upheavals, recover from failures, and face life with a grounded, optimistic outlook. Understanding how emotions affect our decisions is a crucial component of developing emotional control. Emotional bias can impair our judgment and cause us to base decisions more on fleeting emotions than on sound reasoning. For example, we may act impulsively when we are making decisions while experiencing intense emotions, such as fear, rage, or enthusiasm. By becoming aware of these biases, we can mitigate their impact and improve our ability to evaluate our options. This entails stepping back, evaluating the circumstance objectively, and posing questions to ourselves that help us identify our actual goals and values. As a result, decisions are made with consideration and in line with our objectives. In this journey, emotional intelligence, or EQ, is also crucial. EQ is the capacity to comprehend and sympathize with the feelings of others, in addition to being able to identify and control our own emotions. Increasing our EQ enables us to have more successful conversations, settle disputes amicably, and build closer bonds with others. Because it allows us to think about how our decisions will influence not only ourselves, but also those around us, emotional intelligence improves our ability to make decisions. By mastering this ability, we improve our interpersonal relationships and foster more peaceful situations in both our personal and professional life. In the end, empowerment can be achieved by accepting emotional control. Instead of allowing our lives to be dictated by our erratic emotional states, it gives us the means to guide them. We become more confident in our capacity to deal with challenging circumstances, make wise choices, and uphold our moral principles when we are able to control our emotions. We can focus on our long-term objectives, preserve inner calm, and develop resilience in the face of life's obstacles when we have emotional control.